The Caldrith neutral zone had never seen such a gathering. 847 warships hung in the darkness of space, their hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars. They came from 3 different empires, 3 powers that had ruled the galaxy for longer than most civilizations could remember. Admiral Zelthorn stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Triumph. His 4 eyes watched the display screens with satisfaction. The ships of the Vrelnik's Concordat surrounded him, sleek vessels with curves that seemed to flow like water. Their hulls were decorated with patterns that told of ancient victories, of enemies defeated with grace and precision. To his left, the fleet of the Ashari Unity waited in perfect formation. Their ships were different, built like crystals that caught and reflected light. The Ashari believed that war should be beautiful, that even destruction should follow the laws of harmony. Their weapons were works of art, plasma lances that painted the void with colors that had no names in most languages. On his right, the Thexian League's Armada maintained their position. Their vessels were the most traditional, built with angles and purpose. The Thexians were warriors by culture, but even they followed the ancient rules of galactic warfare. Their graviton disruptors could tear apart a ship's structure, but only after proper warnings were given, after protocols were followed. "Status report," Zelthorn commanded. His voice carried the weight of 300 years of military service. "All vessels report ready, Admiral," his tactical officer replied. She was young, barely 70 years old, but her skills were sharp. "Long-range sensors have confirmed the unauthorized transit signature, a single vessel, moving through our space without permission or proper identification codes." Zelthorn's mandibles clicked together, a sound that expressed mild annoyance. In 40,000 years of recorded galactic history, such things rarely happened. Every civilization learned quickly that space travel required cooperation, required following the rules that kept everyone safe. To enter another empire's territory without permission was not just rude, it was dangerous. "Have we determined their origin?" he asked. "Negative, Admiral. The ship's design does not match any known species in our database. The hull configuration is unusual." On the main display, a 3-dimensional image of the unknown vessel appeared. Zelthorn leaned forward, his interest growing. The ship was small, perhaps a quarter the size of his smallest destroyer. Its shape was wrong somehow. Most ships in the galaxy followed certain principles of design. Energy shields required specific hull patterns. Faster-than-light drives needed particular configurations. This ship seemed to ignore those rules. "It looks primitive," said Commander Thexol of the Thexian fleet. His image appeared on the communication screen, his scaled face showing curiosity. "See how thick the hull is? They are wasting mass on physical armor. Do they not have proper shielding technology?" "Perhaps they are a young species," offered Matriarch Ashalin of the Ashari. Her crystalline form shifted colors as she spoke, showing her amusement. "Remember when we first encountered the Bulviks? They tried to use projectile weapons in space. Chemical explosions! We educated them quickly." Zelthorn allowed himself a moment of shared humor. Yes, the galaxy had seen young species before. They always arrived with primitive ideas, thinking that the methods that worked on their home planets would work in space. They learned. Everyone learned. That was the beauty of the galactic community. "Tactical assessment?" he asked. His tactical officer manipulated her controls and new data appeared on the screens. "The vessel mass is approximately 12,000 tons. Energy signature is minimal, suggesting basic power systems. No shield emissions detected. We count 37 external protrusions that might be weapons, but the configuration is strange. They appear to be tubes, Zelthorn repeated. "Show me." The image zoomed in. Indeed, the unknown ship had metal tubes protruding from its hull at various angles. Some were small, perhaps a meter in diameter. Others were larger, big enough that a person could walk through them. Around these tubes were structures that might be ammunition storage or power feeds, but the design made no sense. "They have placed their weapons on the outside of the hull," Commander Thexol observed. "Unshielded, exposed to direct fire." "This is madness or ignorance," Matriarch Ashalin added. "We should approach carefully but firmly. They need to understand that our space is not their playground." Zelthorn considered his options. The proper protocol was clear. First, attempt communication. Second, issue warnings. Third, if necessary, demonstrate force without causing permanent harm. It was a dance that the galaxy had perfected over thousands of years. Wars were rare now because everyone understood the rules. Open all communication channels, he ordered. Broadcast in all known languages. Let us see if these newcomers have learned Galactic Standard. The communication officer worked her console. Broadcasting now, Admiral. All 127 languages in the common database. The message went out, carried by radio waves and quantum entanglement, by laser and gravity pulse. It was simple. Identify yourself. State your purpose. Submit to inspection. Standard first contact protocol refined by millennia of experience. Seconds passed. Then minutes. The unknown ship continued on its course, not slowing, not responding. Perhaps they are experiencing technical difficulties, the communication officer suggested. Their receivers might not be compatible with our transmission methods. Increase power, Zelthorn ordered. Make sure they cannot miss our signal. The communication arrays of 847 warships all focused on the small vessel. The amount of energy directed at it could have powered a small city. No functioning receiver could miss it. Finally, a response came. It was audio only, crackling with static. Unknown vessels, this is the UESS Indomitable. We read you. Please reduce your transmission power. You are overloading our communication systems. The voice was strange. It had harmonics that the translator struggled with, emotional undertones that seemed aggressive even when speaking calmly. The translation matrix worked frantically, comparing the sounds to known language structures. They are speaking a completely new language, the communication officer said, her voice showing surprise. The matrix has never encountered these sound patterns before. It is creating a translation protocol in real time. Can they understand us? Zelthorn asked. Unknown, Admiral. But they can hear us. Zelthorn straightened in his command chair. This was first contact. True first contact. With a species that had somehow developed space travel without ever encountering the galactic community. It was rare but not unprecedented. The procedure remained the same. Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Zelthorn of the Vrelnix Concordat, speaking on behalf of the joint armada of the Kaldrith Neutral Zone. You have entered protected space without authorization. By galactic law, you must submit to inspection and registration. Please power down your engines and prepare for boarding. Another pause. Then the response came, and this time the translator worked better. Though the words still carried that strange, aggressive tone. Admiral Zelthorn, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Service vessel Indomitable. We were not aware this space was claimed. Our star charts show no territorial markers in this region. We respectfully decline your boarding request. We are prepared to negotiate transit rights or establish diplomatic relations, but we will not be boarded. Silence filled the bridge. In the history of galactic civilization, no one declined a boarding inspection. It was unthinkable. It was like refusing to breathe. Did they just... Commander Thexal began, his image on the screen showing confusion. They refused, Matriarch Ashelin said, and for the first time her colors shifted toward red, showing anger. They refused the law. The ancient law that has kept peace for 40,000 years. Zelthorn felt a stirring of concern but also duty. Rules were rules. The newcomers needed to learn. Perhaps they do not understand, he said calmly. Humans, they call themselves humans. This changes nothing. We will proceed with standard protocol for non-compliant vessels. He turned to his weapons officer. Fire a warning shot. Graviton pulse level 3. Aim for the space 500 meters ahead of their bow. Show them we are serious. Yes, Admiral. The Eternal Triumph's graviton disruptor powered up. It was a weapon of precision, of control. The invisible pulse would distort space itself, creating a ripple that would shake any ship caught in its path. At level 3, it would do no permanent damage, merely disable navigation systems temporarily. It was the standard warning shot, the universal signal that said, we are capable of force, but we choose mercy. The pulse fired. Space itself seemed to bend as the graviton wave rushed forward, passing in front of the human ship, and the human ship flew directly into it without slowing down. They should have stopped, the tactical officer said, confusion in her voice. That pulse should have forced them to drop out of faster-than-light travel. But on the screens, the human vessel continued forward. More than that, it seemed to shrug off the graviton wave like water off a smooth stone. Impossible, Zelthorn whispered. Scan them again. Full spectrum. I want to know everything about that ship. Every sensor in the Armada focused on the human vessel. The data that came back made no sense. Admiral? the tactical officer said slowly, reading her screens with disbelief. They have no shields, none. The graviton pulse hit their hull directly. Then why did it not affect them? Because their hull is... Admiral, their hull is impossibly dense. The armor alone masses more than our entire destroyer. It is compressed metal alloys that, according to my readings, should collapse under their own gravity. But they are holding stable. The graviton pulse simply did not have enough force to affect that much mass. Zelthorn stared at the image of the human ship. Those strange tubes, those external weapons, the thick, ugly hull. Suddenly, it did not look primitive. It looked dangerous. What kind of weapons are those tubes? He demanded. His tactical officer worked frantically. Scanning now, Admiral. They appear to be cannons, physical projectile launchers, but that cannot be right. Some of them are sized for objects weighing several tons, and the power feeds suggest electromagnetic acceleration. Railguns, Commander Thexall said suddenly. His face had gone pale. Ancient weapons. Kinetic weapons. My people used them 10,000 years ago, before we discovered energy weapons. Why would anyone use kinetic weapons in space? Matriarch Ashelin asked. They are slow, inefficient, limited by ammunition supplies. Because, Zelthorn said slowly, understanding dawning, kinetic weapons do not care about energy shields. Physical mass cannot be stopped by energy fields. The implication hung in the air. The galaxy's entire defensive doctrine was based on energy shields. Every warship in the Armada had shields that could stop plasma, lasers, particle beams, graviton pulses. But none of them were designed to stop a solid object moving at high speed. Admiral, his communication officer interrupted, the humans are transmitting again. Put them through. The voice of Captain Chen came through the speakers, and this time, the translator caught more nuances. The voice was calm, but there was something underneath it. Not fear, something else. Regret, perhaps. Admiral Zelthorn, we detected your weapons fire. We are interpreting that as a hostile act. Our automated defense systems are now active. This is your final warning. Do not fire again. We do not want conflict, but we will defend ourselves. Please respond. Zelthorn looked at his displays. 847 warships. The combined military might of 3 galactic empires, against one small vessel with primitive weapons and no shields. But that small vessel had just shrugged off a graviton pulse, and it had weapons designed specifically to counter the galaxy's defensive technology. What do we do? Commander Thexall asked. Zelthorn made his decision. We follow protocol. We gave them a warning. They refused. Now we show them what happens when the law is broken. All ships target the unknown vessel. Fire on my command. Full spread all weapons. We will disable them, board them, and then we will explain galactic law to these humans properly. Across the Armada, weapons powered up, plasma lances glowed, graviton disruptors hummed, particle beams charged. 847 warships prepared to fire on a single target. On the screens, the human ship suddenly changed course. It did not run away. It turned and accelerated directly toward the Armada. Admiral, his tactical officer said, and her voice shook slightly. They are not fleeing. They are attacking. Zelthorn's mandibles spread in what might have been a smile. One ship against 800. Their courage is admirable but foolish. All vessels fire at will. The galaxy was about to learn something about humans, and the humans were about to learn about galactic law. Neither lesson would be gentle. The first volley from the Armada lit up space like a supernova. Plasma lances streaked across the void in streams of superheated matter. Graviton disruptors sent invisible waves of distorted spacetime toward the human vessel. Particle beams carved through the darkness, each one carrying enough energy to vaporize a small moon. Captain Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of the Indomitable as the wall of fire approached her ship. She was 43 years old, a veteran of the Mars Rebellion and the Titan blockade. She had seen combat before, but never like this. Never 800 ships firing at once. Brace for impact, she said calmly. All hands secure stations. Damage control teams stand ready. The first weapons hit. The Indomitable shook as plasma washed over its hull. The outer armor layer heated to thousands of degrees, glowing white-hot. Graviton pulses struck the ship from multiple angles, trying to tear it apart with conflicting gravity fields. Particle beams hammered at the armored plates. Seeking weak points, the ship held. Damage report, Chen ordered. Outer armor is at 87%. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, replied. He was young, fresh from Earth's Naval Academy, but his hands were steady on the controls. We have thermal scoring on decks 3 through 7. No hull breaches. Inner systems nominal. The armor is doing its job, Captain. Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Indomitable was built in the lunar shipyards, constructed with lessons learned from 200 years of human warfare. Her hull was composed of layered titanium tungsten alloy, mixed with carbon nanotubing and backed by ceramic composites. Each layer was designed to absorb different types of damage. The entire structure was over 2 meters thick in most places, 4 meters at critical points. Humanity had learned a hard lesson early in its space age. Shields failed. Technology broke down. But good armor, dense metal that obeyed the simple laws of physics, armor endured. Return fire, Chen ordered. Railguns only. Let us show them what we brought to this party. Webb's fingers danced across his controls. Target selection? The big one. The ship that fired first. Give them a 3-round burst from the main gun. Solid slugs, no explosives. Let us see how they handle kinetic impact. Aye, Captain. Main railgun charging. Target locked. In the Indomitable's bow, the main railgun came to life. It was a marvel of human engineering, a weapon that belonged more in a physics laboratory than on a warship. Electromagnetic coils lined a barrel 60 meters long. At the back of the barrel, a solid tungsten slug waited, each one weighing 3 tons and shaped for maximum penetration. The coils activated in sequence, each one adding velocity to the projectile. In less than a second, the slug accelerated to 15% the speed of light. It left the barrel with no flash, no explosion, no warning. Just incredible, unstoppable momentum. On the bridge of the Eternal Triumph, Admiral Zelthorn was reviewing damage reports from the rest of his fleet when his tactical officer screamed, "Incoming! Unknown projectile! Speed is—" That cannot be right. Speed is reading as relativistic. Shields to maximum, Zelthorn commanded. All forward shields now. The Eternal Triumph's energy shields flared to full power, creating a barrier of pure force around the ship. The shields could stop any energy weapon in the galaxy. They had been tested against stars going supernova. They were considered impenetrable. The tungsten slug hit the shields and passed through them like they did not exist. Because to a solid object traveling at relativistic speed, energy shields did not exist. The slug struck the Eternal Triumph's hull amidships. The impact released kinetic energy equivalent to a small nuclear weapon. The alien ship's hull, designed to flex and absorb energy weapon strikes, shattered like glass. The slug punched completely through the ship, entering from the port side and exiting from the starboard, leaving a hole 3 meters wide. Atmosphere rushed out into space. Internal bulkheads exploded from the pressure change. Crew members were sucked into the void. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. Hull breach. Multiple hull breaches. The tactical officer shouted over the chaos. Decks 15 through 22 are open to space. We have lost Graviton Drive 3. Power conduits are failing. Emergency force fields are not holding. Zelthorn grabbed his command chair to keep from being thrown across the bridge. His ship, his beautiful Eternal Triumph, was dying around him, and the human vessel had barely scratched its paint. All ships, he managed to say into the fleet-wide channel. Evasive maneuvers. Do not let them get a clear shot. Randomize your movements. They cannot hit what they cannot predict. But humanity had been fighting wars in 3-dimensional space for 2 centuries. Predicting movement was what targeting computers did best. The Indomitable's railguns fired again, and again. Each shot was perfectly calculated, leading the target by fractions of a second, compensating for distance and relative velocity. The smaller guns joined in, firing slugs the size of a human fist at similar velocities. They did not need to be as large as the main gun rounds. At 15% of light speed, even a small projectile carried devastating energy. 3 Asheri destroyers learned this lesson. The railgun rounds punched through their crystalline hulls with ease, shattering the elegant structures. The beautiful ships came apart in silence, their fragments tumbling through space. This is not possible, Matriarch Ashelin said, her image flickering on Zelthorn's communication screen. Her colors were now a pale white, showing shock and fear. One ship cannot defeat an armada. This violates every principle of warfare. Then we are learning new principles, Commander Thexal growled. His ship had taken a glancing hit from one of the human projectiles, tearing away his port weapons array. These humans do not fight like civilized species. They fight like animals, like predators. The battle continued for 17 minutes. 17 minutes that changed the galaxy forever. The Armada's ships tried everything. They focused fire on single points of the Indomitable's hull, trying to burn through the armor. The human ship maneuvered, presenting fresh armor to the attack, spreading the damage across its entire surface. They tried surrounding the vessel, attacking from all angles. The Indomitable spun on its axis, its railguns firing in all directions, each shot finding a target. They tried ramming. The Thexian heavy cruiser Warbringer accelerated to full speed and attempted to crash into the human ship. The Indomitable waited until the last moment, then fired its maneuvering thrusters. The burst of acceleration would have turned any organic crew into paste, but the humans had something the galaxy had not yet discovered: inertial dampening. The Indomitable slid sideways at accelerations that should have been impossible, and the Warbringer missed by less than 100 meters. As it passed, the Indomitable's point defense railguns raked it from stem to stern. Finally, desperately, they tried missiles. Hundreds of guided missiles, each one with plasma warheads designed to burn through any defense. The missiles streaked toward the Indomitable in a swarm that filled the sensor screens. The human ship's point defense system activated. Smaller railguns, computer-controlled and firing at incredible rates, turned space into a wall of metal. Each gun fired 100 rounds per second. Each round found a missile. The swarm was destroyed before any missile got within 5 kilometers of the ship. And then something changed that made everything worse. "Captain," Lieutenant Webb said, his voice tight, "I am detecting launch signatures from the Indomitable. Multiple launches." "What did they launch?" Zelthorn demanded. "I do not know. The objects are small, accelerating rapidly. They are maneuvering. They are missiles of some kind, but the energy readings are strange." The human missiles approached the Armada. They were not sophisticated, not by galactic standards. They had no plasma warheads, no antimatter cores, no graviton disruptors. They had something simpler. They had nuclear warheads. The first missile reached a Vrelnik's destroyer and detonated. The nuclear explosion released gamma rays and neutrons, a burst of radiation that washed over the ship. The destroyer's shield stopped the heat and the light, but radiation was not stopped by energy shields. The ship's crew received lethal doses in microseconds. The vessel went dark, its crew dead, though the ship itself remained intact. The second missile took a different approach. It did not detonate near its target. It detonated against it. The explosion was shaped, focused, using the expanding plasma as a projectile. The directed energy struck an Ashari cruiser with the force of a shaped charge. The hull buckled and tore. Atmosphere and bodies spilled out. 8 more missiles detonated. 8 more ships went silent or broke apart. "They weaponized atomic fission," Matriarch Ashelin whispered. "They turned the power of stars into weapons. What kind of species does this?" Zelthorn had no answer. His fleet had lost 38 ships. 38 ships destroyed or disabled by one human vessel. And that vessel had barely been damaged. Its armor was scored and melted in places, but it was still fighting, still maneuvering, still deadly. "All ships," he said, and his voice was heavy with defeat. "Ceasefire. Ceasefire immediately. Fall back to minimum engagement range." The order went out. 809 remaining ships backed away from the human vessel, their weapons still charged but no longer firing. The Indomitable held its position, its railguns tracking targets but not shooting. For a long moment there was only silence. Then Captain Chen's voice came through the communication channel. "Admiral Zelthorn, we are detecting your weapons powering down. We are interpreting this as a request for ceasefire. We accept. Hold your current positions. Do not approach us and we will not fire. We will now begin negotiations." Zelthorn slumped in his command chair. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to control damage to save the Eternal Triumph. Outside, his fleet was scattered, bleeding, broken by a single ship. "Negotiations," he said quietly. "Yes, we will negotiate. Because if we do not, they will kill us all." Commander Thexal's image appeared on the screen. The proud warrior looked shaken. "Admiral, we need to know more about these humans. We need to understand what we are facing." "Agreed," Matriarch Ashelin said. "This was not a battle. This was a demonstration. They could have destroyed us all, but they chose mercy. Why?" Zelthorn thought about the human ship, about its crude design and devastating effectiveness. He thought about weapons built not for elegance but for pure killing power. He thought about a species that would armor their ships so heavily that shields became unnecessary. What kind of people built things this way? "Open a direct channel to the human captain," he ordered. It is time we learned about Earth, and may the ancient gods help us if they decide we are enemies. The negotiation chamber was hastily assembled aboard the Ashari diplomatic vessel, Crystal Harmony. It was neutral ground, a ship that had not participated directly in the battle. The chamber itself was beautiful, as everything Ashari was beautiful. The walls shifted with colors that were meant to promote calm and rational thinking. The air was scented with compounds designed to reduce aggression in most known species. Captain Sarah Chen sat across from Admiral Zelthorn, Commander Thexol, and Matriarch Asha Lin. She wore her dress uniform, dark blue with silver insignia, and she carried no weapons. She had insisted on that. No weapons in the negotiation chamber. It was a human custom, a sign of good faith. The aliens had agreed, though Chen suspected it was because they now feared what she might do even without weapons. Captain Chen, Admiral Zelthorn began. His translator was working much better now, providing clearer translations of his speech. Thank you for agreeing to meet with us. Thank you for the ceasefire, Admiral, Chen replied. I want to make something very clear before we begin. The United Earth Space Service did not come here looking for war. We were exploring, mapping unknown regions. We had no idea this space was claimed by anyone. Your ignorance does not excuse your actions, Commander Thexol said. His scales were still discolored from stress. You refused lawful orders. You attacked without provocation. Chen's expression hardened. With respect, Commander, you fired first. We detected a weapons discharge aimed at our vessel. Every ship captain in human space has standing orders. If fired upon, return fire with overwhelming force. We showed restraint. We could have destroyed your entire fleet. The three alien leaders exchanged glances. They knew she was not boasting. They had seen what one human ship could do. Perhaps we should start with understanding, Matriarch Ashelin said, her colors shifting to peaceful blues and greens. We know nothing of your people, Captain. We know nothing of Earth. Help us understand who humans are. Chen nodded. A fair request. I will answer your questions honestly, but I expect the same honesty in return. Agreed, Zelthorn said. The first hour of negotiations was spent on basics. Chen explained Earth's location, far beyond what the galactic powers considered explored space. She explained humanity's expansion into their own solar system, the colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. She explained how humans had developed faster than light travel only 60 years ago, and how they were still exploring the galaxy, still learning they were not alone. The aliens listened with growing confusion. You have only had space travel for 60 years? Zelthorn asked. But your weapons technology, your ship design, these things should take thousands of years to develop. Humans adapt quickly, Chen said simply. We have to. Our homeworld taught us that. Tell us about Earth, Matriarch Ashelin requested. We ran biological scans during the battle. Your crew showed unusual physical characteristics. Help us understand your evolution. Chen pulled up a holographic display from her personal computer. An image of Earth appeared above the table, a blue and green world wrapped in white clouds. This is Earth, she said, our homeworld. By galactic standards, I am told it is what you would call a death world. The word did not translate well, Chen had to explain. A death world is a planet with conditions that are hostile to most life. Earth has gravity approximately 30% higher than what you have told me is galactic standard. Our atmosphere is thick and chaotic. Our weather includes storms with winds that can destroy buildings. Our oceans can generate waves 50 meters high. Our tectonic activity causes earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, and that is just the planet itself. She changed the image to show various Earth animals: a lion, a great white shark, a bear, a crocodile. Earth evolved multiple apex predators, she continued, species that hunt and kill other species for food. Humanity evolved in competition with these predators. We survived not by being stronger or faster, but by being smarter and more persistent. Persistence? Commander Thexol asked. Humans are endurance hunters, Chen explained. Our ancestors would track prey for days, sometimes weeks. We cannot run as fast as many animals, but we can run longer than anything else on our planet. We do not give up. It is in our nature. She pulled up another image, this one showing human history. Ancient weapons. Stone tools. Bronze swords. Steel guns. Nuclear weapons. And because we evolved among predators, we learned to be predators ourselves. Humanity's history is a history of warfare. We fought for territory. We fought for resources. We fought for ideas and beliefs. We fought each other for thousands of years before we ever reached space. The aliens stared at the images with something like horror. This is normal for your species? Matriarch Ashelin asked. This level of violence? It was, Chen said. Earth unified under a single government only 90 years ago, after the Third World War nearly destroyed our civilization. But yes, warfare is part of who we are. We understand it. We are very, very good at it. Zelthorn's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. Your ship, the Indomitable. Tell us about it. Why is it designed the way it is? Chen smiled slightly. The Indomitable is a patrol frigate. It is designed for long-range missions in potentially hostile territory. Its armor is heavy because we learned early that energy shields can fail. Technology breaks, but good armor, solid metal that endures. Its weapons are kinetic because kinetic weapons are simple, reliable, and effective. Railguns have no moving parts except the projectile. They cannot be jammed by electronic warfare. They do not run out of energy as long as the ship has power. And they work. You said it is a patrol frigate, Commander Thexal said slowly. What does that mean? How does it compare to your actual warships? Chen met his gaze steadily. The Indomitable is 40 years old. It is outdated by current military standards. It was scheduled to be decommissioned next year. We have been using it for exploration missions because it was no longer suitable for frontline combat. The silence that followed was profound. 40 years old, Zelthorn repeated. Outdated. Captain Chen, how advanced is your current military technology? I am not at liberty to discuss classified information, Chen replied. But I can tell you that the Earth Defense Force currently operates 217 ships of various classes. Frigates like the Indomitable, destroyers, cruisers, carriers, and 6 dreadnoughts. 6 dreadnoughts, Matriarch Ashelin whispered. What is a dreadnought? A dreadnought is a capital ship designed for fleet engagement. The newest, the UESS Armstrong, mass is 2 million tons. It carries 140 railguns of various sizes, 300 missile tubes, and enough armor to survive a nuclear detonation against its hull. It can engage multiple targets simultaneously while providing fighter support and electronic warfare coverage. Chen paused, then added quietly, if the Indomitable is a patrol car, a dreadnought is a battle fortress. The aliens looked at each other. Their expressions, despite their different physiologies, all showed the same thing. Fear. Captain, Zelthorn said carefully, we need to understand something. Your doctrine of warfare. You said you were ordered to return fire with overwhelming force. Explain what that means. Chen considered her words carefully. In human military doctrine, there are several principles. One of them is overwhelming force. If you are attacked, you respond with enough power to ensure the threat is completely eliminated. You do not give the enemy time to recover. You do not give them a chance to adapt. You hit them with everything you have and you do not stop until they surrender or are destroyed. That is brutal, Matriarch Ashelin said. That is survival, Chen corrected. On Earth and nature, predators that show mercy die. Their prey escapes and learns. Their competitors exploit their weakness. Humanity learned that lesson over millions of years of evolution. We carried it into space. Commander Thexal leaned forward. But you showed mercy to us. You stopped firing when we retreated. Why? Because humans are not mindless killers, Chen said firmly. We are capable of great violence, yes. But we are also capable of great compassion. We prefer peace. We prefer cooperation. But when threatened, when attacked, we will defend ourselves with everything we have. You fired on my ship, Admiral. You tried to destroy us. We returned fire to protect ourselves. But when you stopped, we stopped. That is also part of being human. She stood up and walked to the window of the chamber, looking out at the stars. You need to understand something about humanity, she said, her back to the aliens. We spent centuries fighting each other, nation against nation, ideology against ideology. We nearly destroyed ourselves 3 times with nuclear weapons. We know the cost of war. We know what it means to lose millions of people for nothing more than pride or stupidity. She turned back to face them. When we finally unified, when we finally reached the stars, we did so with one goal. Never again. Never again would humanity be caught unprepared. Never again would we be vulnerable. Every ship we build with the assumption that we might meet hostile aliens. Every weapon we design to be deadly. Not because we want war, but because we want to be ready if war finds us. And it did find you, Silthorn said quietly. We brought war to you. You brought a warning shot, Chen corrected. If you had wanted war, you would have targeted our crew sections, our engines, our critical systems. Instead, you shot ahead of us, a warning. We recognized that. That is why we did not destroy your fleet. We returned fire. We defended ourselves, but we aimed to disable, not to kill. Though I will not apologize for the ships we destroyed. They fired on us. The negotiations continued for another 6 hours. Chen shared data about Earth, about human culture and history. The aliens shared data about the galactic community, about the 40,000 years of recorded history, about the laws and customs that governed interactions between species. Slowly a picture formed. The galaxy was old, stable, and complacent. War had become ritualized, almost ceremonial. Energy weapons against energy shields. Proper protocols. Acceptable losses calculated before battles even began. The galactic powers had forgotten what real war looked like. Earth was young, violent, and paranoid. Humanity had crawled out of the mud fighting for survival, and they had never stopped fighting. Every advance in technology had been immediately weaponized. Every tool had military applications. Humans did not fight by galactic rules because they did not know galactic rules. They fought by Earth rules, and Earth rules said win at any cost. Finally, as the meeting drew to a close, Commander Thexel asked the question they were all thinking. Captain Chen, what happens now? Your people know about us now. We know about you. What does humanity want? Chen smiled. It was not a predatory smile, despite what the aliens might have feared. It was tired but genuine. What humanity wants is the same thing we have always wanted. A place in the universe, trade, knowledge, friends if possible. We do not want to conquer the galaxy. We just want to be part of it, on our own terms. And if we refuse? Matriarch Ashelin asked. Chen's smile faded. Then we will leave your space and never return. But we will remember that you fired on us. And if you ever threaten Earth or human colonies, we will respond. Not with one patrol frigate. With everything we have. The threat was clear. So was the offer of peace. Admiral Zelthorn stood and bowed, a gesture of respect in Vrelnik's culture. We will carry your words to our governments, Captain Chen. I believe they will choose peace. After today, I do not think anyone wants to see what human war truly looks like. As Chen prepared to leave, Zelthorn stopped her with a question. Captain, one more thing. You said the Indomitable was scheduled for decommissioning. What will replace it? Chen paused at the doorway. The new patrol frigates are called the Ranger class. They mass 15,000 tons, carry improved armor and shielding, and mount twice the weapons. We have already built 40 of them. Production rate is 3 per month. She left the chamber, leaving the 3 alien leaders to contemplate what that meant. Humanity was not slowing down. They were building more ships, better ships, faster ships, and they were just beginning to explore the galaxy. The age of galactic peace was over. The age of humanity had begun. The Galactic Council Chamber on Vrelna Prime had stood for 12,000 years. It was a monument to civilization, a place where disputes were resolved with words instead of weapons. The chamber could hold representatives from all 47 member species of the galactic community. Today it was packed beyond capacity. Admiral Zelthorn stood before the assembled leaders, his image projected on screens throughout the chamber. He had returned directly from the Keldrith neutral zone, his flagship still bearing the scars of battle. Behind him, holographic displays showed the Indomitable, showed the battle, showed the damage to the Armada. He had been speaking for 2 hours. Now he was finished. And so, he concluded, I recommend immediate diplomatic outreach to Earth. We should offer them full membership in the galactic community, with all rights and protections. The alternative is to make an enemy of the most dangerous species we have ever encountered. The chamber erupted in debate. Some voices called for caution. Others demanded military action. Still others simply could not believe what they were hearing. High Chancellor Morvex of the Vrelnik's Concordat raised a crystalline hand for silence. She was old even by Vrelnik's standards, and her wisdom was respected across the galaxy. Admiral Zelthorn, she said, her voice carrying easily in the chamber's acoustics, you have shown us the tactical data. You have shared the specifications of human weapons. But I must ask, are humans truly as dangerous as you claim? Could this not be an anomaly? Perhaps the Indomitable was simply an exceptional ship. Zelthorn's mandibles clicked in disagreement. High Chancellor, with respect, the Indomitable is 40 years old and was scheduled for retirement. It is not exceptional among human vessels. It is obsolete. A Thexian military analyst stood. Admiral, I have reviewed your data extensively. I must present my findings to the Council. He activated his own display. Charts and graphs appeared showing comparison data. Humans are physiologically unusual, the analyst began. Average human height is 1.8 meters. Mass is 75 kilograms. This is within normal parameters for galactic species. However, other factors are significant. He pulled up a skeletal structure. Human bone density is 40% higher than galactic average. Their muscle fiber composition includes a higher proportion of fast-twitch muscles, optimized for rapid, explosive movement. Their cardiovascular system is designed for sustained high-level activity. In practical terms, an average human is stronger, faster, and has greater endurance than most species of similar size. Another chart appeared. Their sensory capabilities are particularly notable. Humans have binocular vision with exceptional depth perception. They can track moving objects with accuracy that rivals our best targeting computers. Their hearing range is broad. Most significantly, their neural processing speed for visual and spatial information is among the fastest we have measured. These are the traits of a predator, someone in the chamber said. Yes, the analyst confirmed. Humans are apex predators, but they are social apex predators, which makes them more dangerous. They hunt in groups. They coordinate, they plan. A lone human is dangerous. A group of humans is terrifying. Matriarch Ashelin stood. Her journey from the Kaldrith zone had been long, but she insisted on speaking in person. Council members, I must share something that troubles me deeply. During our negotiations with Captain Chen, we performed detailed biological scans. We detected chemical signatures in the human crew's bloodstream. Adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine. These are stress hormones. Fight-or-flight response chemicals. She paused, letting that sink in. The human crew was experiencing these during combat. It made them faster, stronger, more alert. Their bodies were enhancing their combat capabilities automatically. But here is what troubles me. The levels we detected were not dangerously high. They were normal for humans during stress. This means their bodies are adapted to regular combat stress. They are built for fighting. A Bolvix counselor spoke up. Surely this is just evolution. Many species have stress responses. Not like this, Matriarch Ashelin replied. We analyzed the data further. Human neural architecture includes an enlarged amygdala, the fear processing center, but it is balanced by an equally developed prefrontal cortex, the reasoning center. They can experience fear while still making rational decisions. They can be terrified and still fight effectively. This is not common in nature. Commander Thexal stood now. I would like to share what we learned about human history. It is relevant to understanding their nature. He activated a timeline. It showed human civilization, from primitive stone tools to spaceflight. Humans developed civilization approximately 12,000 years ago, he began. In that time, they fought approximately 14,000 recorded wars. Some were small local conflicts, others were global, involving hundreds of nations. Their largest war, which they call World War II, killed 85 million people over 6 years. The chamber fell silent. 85 million, someone whispered. That is more than the total casualties of all galactic conflicts in the last 10,000 years. Thexal continued. And humans considered this a learning experience. They studied it. They analyzed it. They determined never to repeat it. So they fought 2 more world wars, each time refining their weapons, their tactics, their strategies. He showed images now. Ancient human weapons, swords and spears, then rifles and cannons, then tanks and aircraft, then nuclear weapons. They weaponized everything, Thexal said. Every technological advance had military applications. They split the atom and immediately built bombs. They developed computers to calculate artillery trajectories. They created the internet to maintain communications after nuclear war. They went to space initially to put weapons in orbit. But they also developed medicine, art, philosophy, someone protested. Yes, Thexal agreed. Humans are contradictory. They are capable of incredible violence and incredible compassion. They write poetry and wage war. They create beautiful music and design weapons to kill millions. They are in many ways the most dangerous species I have ever studied. A new voice spoke up. It was Dr. Kelvin, the galaxy's leading xenobiologist. I would like to add my analysis. I have studied the data on Earth's biosphere. The results are disturbing. He displayed images of Earth's animals. Earth has more apex predators per square kilometer than any known planet. Lions, tigers, bears, sharks, crocodiles, eagles, wolves, and dozens more. Humans evolved in competition with all of them. They did not have natural weapons like claws or fangs. They did not have natural armor like shells or thick hides. They survived by being smarter. Intelligence is not unusual, someone said. No, Dr. Kelvin agreed. But the way humans use intelligence is unusual. They are tool users, yes, but they are exceptional tool users. They see every object as a potential tool or weapon. A rock becomes a hammer, a stick becomes a spear, metal becomes a blade, atoms become bombs. This is how they think. Everything can be used. Everything can be weaponized. He pulled up more data. I analyzed their dietary habits. Humans are omnivores. They can eat almost anything. Plants, meat, fungi, even some things that would poison other species. Their digestive systems are incredibly adaptable. This means they can survive in almost any environment. They are not limited by specialized dietary needs. Furthermore, he continued, humans practice what they call persistence hunting. They do not run as fast as their prey. Instead, they track prey for hours or days, forcing the prey to run until it collapses from exhaustion. Then they kill it. This requires incredible endurance, determination, and patience. These traits carry over into their warfare doctrine. High Chancellor Morvex listened to all of this with growing concern. What you are describing is a species optimized for warfare, for survival against all odds, for never giving up. Exactly, Dr. Kelvin confirmed. And there is more. Humans have something they call the human spirit or will to survive. It is not just biological. It is cultural. They tell stories about never surrendering. They celebrate historical figures who fought against impossible odds. They have a saying, victory or death, they would rather die than admit defeat. This is madness, someone said. This is humanity, Zelthorn replied quietly. The council debated for hours. Some wanted to quarantine human space to declare it off limits. Others wanted to establish trade relations carefully, keeping humanity at arm's length. A few extremists even suggested a preemptive strike, destroying Earth before humans could spread further. That suggestion was quickly rejected. No one wanted to see what humanity would do if their homeworld was attacked. Finally, High Chancellor Morvex called for order. We must make a decision. Based on everything we have learned, I propose the following. We officially recognize Earth and its colonies as sovereign territory. We offer humans full membership in the galactic community. We establish trade and diplomatic relations, but we also implement the following security measures. She listed them. Human ships would be required to follow all traffic protocols. Human weapons would be registered and monitored. Human military expansion would be watched carefully. And most importantly, a joint task force would be established to study human technology and develop countermeasures just in case. We will not provoke them, the High Chancellor said firmly, but we will not be unprepared. Does anyone object? No one did. The vote was unanimous. As the council session ended, Admiral Zelthorn remained in the chamber with Commander Thexal and Matriarch Ashelin. Do you think this will work? Thexal asked. Can we coexist with humans peacefully? Zelthorn considered the question. I think humans want peace. Captain Chen was sincere about that. But I also think they will never be helpless again. They will build more ships. They will improve their weapons. They will expand into space. And if anyone threatens them, they will respond with everything they have. So we make sure never to threaten them, Matriarch Ashelin said. Yes, Zelthorn agreed. We make sure never to threaten them. Because if we do, we will learn what human total war truly means. And I do not think the galaxy would survive that lesson. He looked at the displays one more time, at the image of the Indomitable, scarred but unbroken, at the human crew standing ready to fight 800 ships with no hesitation. They call themselves humans, he said quietly. It comes from their word for earth, for ground, for soil. They are named after dirt. But they reached the stars anyway. They crawled out of the mud of their violent world and built ships that can defeat Armadas. Never underestimate them. Never assume they are like us. They are not. What are they then? Thexal asked. Zelthorn thought about Earth, about its gravity and its predators and its endless wars. He thought about a species that survived and thrived despite everything trying to kill them. He thought about humanity's determination, their refusal to give up, their ability to turn anything into a weapon. They are survivors, he said finally. They are the ultimate survivors. And now they are among the stars. The galaxy will never be the same. The three of them left the chamber, each carrying the weight of what they had learned. Behind them, the holographic display of the Indomitable remained, a silent reminder of the day the galaxy discovered it was not alone in its capacity for violence. Humanity had arrived, and the old empires, the ancient powers, the civilizations that had ruled for 40,000 years would have to make room for them, whether they liked it or not. 6 months had passed since the encounter at the Caldrith neutral zone. The galaxy had changed in ways both subtle and profound. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the UESS Pathfinder, a diplomatic vessel that had replaced the Indomitable for this mission. She watched as the ship approached Vrelna Prime, the capital world of the Vrelnix Concordat. The planet was beautiful, a world of blue oceans and green continents wrapped in white clouds. It reminded her of Earth, though the gravity was lighter and the continents were shaped differently. Behind her, Ambassador Michael Torres reviewed his notes for the upcoming meetings. He was humanity's first official ambassador to the galactic community, a position that had not existed 6 months ago. He was a veteran diplomat, someone who had negotiated peace between Earth's nations during the final days before unification. If anyone could represent humanity in this new arena, it was him. Nervous? Chen asked. Terrified, Torres admitted with a slight smile. But that is part of the job. You were terrified during the battle, I assume? Every second, Chen agreed. But fear is just information. It tells you the situation is dangerous. What you do with that information is what matters, Torres nodded. A very human perspective. I wonder if the galactic community will ever truly understand us. They are trying, Chen said. That is more than we expected. The Pathfinder docked at the orbital station above Vrelna Prime. Unlike the Indomitable, this ship was built for diplomacy, not war. It carried minimal weapons, focusing instead on luxurious quarters, meeting rooms, and communication equipment. But even so, Chen noticed the alien ships giving it a wide berth. The reputation of human vessels had spread quickly. The reception on Vrelna Prime was formal and elaborate. High Chancellor Morvex herself greeted the human delegation, flanked by representatives from dozens of species. The ceremony was conducted in the traditional way, with speeches and symbolic gifts and carefully choreographed movements. Chen noticed how the aliens watched the humans. There was respect there, but also wariness. Some looked at them with curiosity, others with fear. A few with something that might have been admiration. None looked at them with contempt or dismissal. Those attitudes had died in the Caldrith zone. The formal meetings began the next day. Ambassador Torres sat across from the Galactic Council, with Chen and a team of human experts behind him. The agenda was extensive: trade agreements, territorial boundaries, technology sharing, military protocols, and cultural exchange programs. Ambassador Torres, High Chancellor Morvex began. On behalf of the galactic community, we welcome humanity. We hope this marks the beginning of a long and peaceful relationship between our peoples. Thank you, High Chancellor, Torres replied. Humanity shares that hope. We come seeking friendship, knowledge, and mutual prosperity. The first days of negotiation went smoothly. Trade agreements were straightforward. Humanity had resources the galaxy wanted, particularly certain rare elements that were common in Earth's asteroid belt. In return, the galaxy could offer advanced medical technology, agricultural techniques, and scientific knowledge that would benefit human colonies. Technology sharing was more complicated. The galactic powers wanted to understand human weapons, wanted to know how railguns and kinetic weapons worked. The humans were willing to share some information, but not all. Some technologies remained classified. You must understand our position, Torres explained to the Council. Humanity has been attacked once already by your forces. We defended ourselves successfully, but we cannot assume all future encounters will be peaceful. We need to maintain some military advantages for our own security. But if we cannot defend against your weapons, how can we trust you? A Bolvix counselor asked. Torres smiled slightly. You cannot. But that is true for us as well. We cannot know if you are developing new weapons, new technologies that could threaten us. Trust must be built over time through actions, not words. We propose a gradual exchange, with both sides sharing information slowly, building confidence together. The council agreed, though some members were clearly unhappy. The humans had forced them to think about security in new ways. The old assumptions, the comfortable certainties were gone. Military protocols were the most contentious issue. The galaxy had 40,000 years of established rules for warfare. Humans knew none of those rules and had no intention of following them blindly. "Your doctrine of overwhelming force is unacceptable," Admiral Zelthorn stated during one session. "It is too aggressive, too violent. It will lead to unnecessary casualties." "Our doctrine kept us alive," Chen countered. She had been asked to speak on military matters as someone who had experienced combat. "In human history, showing weakness invites attack. Showing strength prevents war. We do not start fights, but we will finish them." "But surely there must be limits," Matriarch Ashelin said. "Rules of engagement. Protected targets, acceptable weapons and unacceptable weapons." "We have limits," Chen agreed. "We do not target civilians intentionally. We do not use biological or chemical weapons. We follow the laws of war that humanity has developed, but we will not handicap ourselves by following rules designed for a different kind of warfare." The debate went on for hours. Finally, a compromise was reached. Humans would register their military vessels and inform the galactic community of their locations. In return, the galaxy would recognize human territorial space and not enter it without permission. Both sides would agree to negotiate before fighting. But both sides retained the right to self-defense. It was not perfect, but it was a start. The cultural exchange program was perhaps the most interesting aspect of the negotiations. The galaxy wanted to understand humans better, and humans wanted to understand the galaxy. "We propose student exchange programs," Torres suggested. Human students would study at galactic universities. Alien students would study on Earth. We would share our art, our literature, our history. In time, perhaps we would understand each other well enough that war becomes unthinkable. The Council approved this enthusiastically. Knowledge was valued in galactic society, and the chance to study a species as unusual as humans was appealing to many. But there were warnings too. "Ambassador Torres," Dr. Kelvin said during one session, "we must discuss a sensitive topic, human entertainment." "Entertainment?" Torres asked, confused. "Yes, we have analyzed broadcasts from Earth, your movies, your games, your sports. We find them disturbing," Torres blinked. "In what way?" Dr. Kelvin displayed images. Action movies showing explosions and gunfights. Horror films with monsters and violence. Sports where humans fought each other like boxing and mixed martial arts. "You create entertainment from violence," Dr. Kelvin said. "You watch simulated warfare for pleasure. You pay to see humans hurt each other in controlled combat. This is not normal in galactic culture. Most species find such things distressing." Torres glanced at Chen, who shrugged. "Doctor, for humans, these things are not disturbing. They are cathartic. We have aggressive instincts, as you have noted. Entertainment allows us to express those instincts safely. Better to watch a movie about war than to start a real war." "But it normalizes violence," a counselor protested. "No," Chen said firmly. "It provides an outlet for natural human tendencies. Humans who watch violent entertainment are not more violent. Studies have shown they are often less violent because the entertainment satisfies their instincts without real harm." "You want us to suppress our nature?" "That would be dangerous. Better to channel it safely." The council was not entirely convinced, but they acknowledged that human psychology was different from their own. They agreed that human entertainment would not be widely distributed in galactic space to avoid disturbing other species. As the negotiations continued, other issues emerged. Humans wanted to establish embassies on multiple worlds. The galaxy wanted observers on human colonies. There were questions about jurisdiction, about law enforcement, about what happened when humans and aliens had disputes. Each issue was addressed carefully, with lawyers and diplomats from both sides working to find solutions. It was tedious work, but necessary. The foundation of peaceful coexistence was being built, one agreement at a time. On the 15th day of negotiations, something unexpected happened. A message arrived from Earth. The transmission was coded, marked urgent. Chen received it first and immediately requested a recess. "What is it?" Torres asked when they were alone in their quarters. Chen played the message. It was from Admiral Patricia Hawkins, commander of the Earth Defense Force. "Captain Chen, Ambassador Torres, this message is classified. New intelligence has been gathered regarding galactic military capabilities. Our analysis suggests that the three empires you encountered represent only a fraction of galactic military strength. There are 47 member species in the galactic community. If they united against us, we would be outnumbered approximately 3,000 to 1. Torres paled. 3,000 to 1? That is not all, Chen said grimly. She continued the message. However, Admiral Hawkins continued, our tactical analysis suggests that numerical superiority may not be decisive. Galactic weapons are poorly suited to combat human vessels. Their reliance on energy shields creates a fundamental vulnerability. Our recommendation: continue diplomatic efforts but accelerate military production. We are increasing shipyard capacity by 40%. Within 5 years, we will have 800 combat vessels. Within 10 years, 2,000. The message ended. Torres sat heavily in a chair. They are building an armada, he said quietly. Can you blame them? Chen asked. We are one species against 47. We need to be ready. But if the galaxy learns we are building so many ships, they will panic. They will think we are preparing to attack them. Chen nodded. That is why we do not tell them. We maintain diplomatic relations. We build trust. But we also build ships. Just in case, Torres understood. It was the human way. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Never be helpless again. The negotiations concluded successfully. Humanity was officially recognized as a sovereign power. Trade agreements were signed. Embassies would be established. Student exchanges would begin. The galaxy had a new member, and that member was trying very hard to be a good neighbor. On the final day, High Chancellor Morvex hosted a private dinner for Torres, Chen, and a few key galactic leaders. The atmosphere was relaxed, almost friendly. They ate food from a dozen worlds and shared stories. I must confess something, Admiral Zelthorn said at one point. Before I met you, I thought humans would be easy to defeat. I thought one armada would be sufficient. I was wrong. You were not wrong to try to enforce galactic law, Torres said diplomatically. You were just wrong about our capabilities. But that is changing now. We understand each other better. Do we? Commander Thexal asked. I am not certain. Humans remain a mystery to us. You are violent yet peaceful. Aggressive yet diplomatic. You prepare for war while seeking peace. How do we reconcile these contradictions? Chen smiled. You do not reconcile them. You accept them. Humans are contradictory. We contain multitudes. We are capable of great evil and great good. The key is choosing which side to act on. And you choose peace? Matriarch Ashelin asked. We choose survival, Chen corrected. Peace serves our survival. So we choose peace. But if threatened, we will choose violence. And we are very good at violence. The table fell silent for a moment. Then High Chancellor Morvex laughed, a sound like crystal bells. At least you are honest, she said. That is more than many species can claim. Very well, humans. You have your place in the galaxy. May we all benefit from it. They raised their glasses in a toast. To peace, to prosperity, to the future. As Chen looked around the table at the aliens who had been enemies and were now allies, she felt a strange mixture of hope and caution. Humanity had passed its first test. They had proven they could survive contact with alien civilizations. They had demonstrated strength without becoming conquerors. They had shown they could be both warrior and diplomat. But she also knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast. There were 47 known species and perhaps more unknown ones. There would be challenges ahead, misunderstandings, conflicts. Humanity would have to navigate carefully, building relationships while maintaining their strength. Later on the flight back to Earth, Torres asked Chen a question. Do you think this will last? The peace? Chen looked out at the stars, at the infinite darkness between them. She thought about human history, about the wars and the peace treaties, about the cycles of conflict and cooperation. I think it will last as long as everyone remembers what happened at the Keldrith Zone, she said finally. As long as they remember that humans are not to be trifled with. As long as they respect us, fear us a little, and want to be our friends rather than our enemies. And if they forget, Chen's expression hardened. Then we remind them, but gently if possible. We do not want to be the monsters they fear. We want to be the friends they respect. That is the balance we must maintain. The Pathfinder continued its journey home, carrying the humans who had changed the galaxy forever. Behind them, on Vrelna Prime, the galactic powers began implementing their new policies regarding humanity. Warning protocols were established. Human space was marked as sovereign and potentially dangerous. Military analysts studied human tactics and searched for countermeasures. And in secret, in hidden facilities across multiple worlds, scientists began their own weapons programs, trying to develop counters to kinetic weapons, trying to create defenses that could